Hi, this is Let's Finally Watch It with me, Lauren-Blair Donovan.
And me, Clark Canez.
And I don't know if you can see her, and if you're just listening on the podcast, you definitely cannot, but I have my dog, my perfect little therapy companion dog, Lady Grimaldi.
Yes.
Do you want to say hi to the pretty YouTube and TikTok people? No? Okay.
I mean, she gave a look.
She did.
Of acknowledgement.
She's like, I get it. I'm an old Hollywood pro at this point. But anyway, thank you for watching/listening. This is Let's Finally Watch It. This is a podcast where we finally watch the movies that we never saw, one or both of us, that most Americans have seen.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing because, like, there's just so much out there. I don't think it's our fault.
Especially when we're talking old classics.
Right.
Versus new classics versus current blockbusters. A lot of content.
Yeah, I mean, film has been a media since 100 plus years.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get to everything, but I feel like there's so many things where, I mean, I think this in a lot of ways it comes from where people are just like, oh, you haven't seen that? I'm shocked.
Which is the story of my life.
Right, exactly. And I think we've run into that a few times but the thing is like, yeah, some people just haven't seen certain things because it's not even in the zeitgeist. Like, I talk to people about, a huge movie and they're like, oh, I had no idea that even existed.
Absolutely. That happens. I'm more of a TV person, and that happens even with, like, I was talking to someone who never saw Mad Men last week, which you've only seen parts of, right? I'm just remembering that.
I've never seen an episode.
Oh, you haven't? You're not even the person I was talking to.
I know.
Oh my God.
That is literally, no, it's like everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me about that show.
It's so good. You have to watch it.
Sopranos.
I haven't seen that one either.
Okay.
Maybe we'll start a TV podcast
Yeah,
too.
maybe we'll do that, yeah.
But it's funny though, because it's like, I, for whatever the reason, have missed so many classic movies, whether it's Wizard of Oz, whether it's E.T., Goonies, Godfather. Like, there's so many films that I think are like American staples.
Right.
I haven't seen them. And it's funny because for a long time I've wanted to do a podcast about this very thing, because at this point, like, if you haven't seen E.T. yet, like I have not, you're not just going to sit down and watch it. You almost want like an excuse to watch it because you haven't, and I'm sure it's delightful. I've seen parts of it. It seemed delightful, but it's almost ambitious to start movies that everyone has seen without an excuse to, if you haven't seen it yet, if that makes sense.
I know, and it almost feels better when I grew up really liking watching movies with people, and I don't care if they've already seen it, but like there's some things I wouldn't get right off the bat, so it'll be interesting. Like, my blank spots too will be like, I won't be completely lost, in space, or given context of there's so many movies that we have on the list so far that
it's like 100 plus.
Right. And the thing is, it's so funny because some of these I'm like, I know that from Animaniacs, but I don't.
That's the thing. So many things are just ubiquitous in like culture. Like, for instance, one of the first movies we're going to watch is Wizard of Oz, which I haven't seen, but like I know all the plot points. I know how it ends because it's like so in culture. So it's like just wild. You feel like I can BS my way through like a trivia challenge with some of these movies that I've never seen before.
Right. I know. I feel like I've learned more about, like, I probably know the whole plot of Harry Potter just from doing improv scenes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
We're
both LA-based comedians. And so we vaudeville. So many references are just ubiquitous in culture, like Animaniacs. Like, there's parodies of things. There's,
Right. There's, I mean, just that, and just, like, I feel like just agreeing with people, like, in a certain conversation, it's like, oh, have you not seen that? Oh, I think I have. Yeah,
it's easier. It's so much easier.
Easier to just...
Instead of getting lectured for not seeing something, because that's me. one of my biggest gaps of knowledge is Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
which you touched on this. I've technically seen the first one from the 70s. I understand that there's prequels now, but
It's
the first
okay,
one that
yeah.
existed,
Yes,
in our
production
timeline.
order. Yeah, in production order. Yeah.
Right, in production order, exactly. That's a showbiz term.
Mhm.
I've seen it twice, but I was so lost in, like, one was when I was 13 with my dad and my brother, and the other
Right.
was with a now ex. And I didn't understand what was going on at
Mhm.
all. And I watched it with my now ex because he was so into Star Wars and was like, you have to see it. But then he fell asleep 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
And that's a weird, if you grew up with Star Wars, people don't understand what I'm talking about, but it's like this whole different world.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't understand why I care about these characters. I don't know what species these are. Are they good?
Right.
Are they bad? Wait, now we're in a different world. Like,
Mhm.
I'm only ever going to watch Star Wars again because of this podcast, basically.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And, but I mean, that kind of goes back to the whole thing about people not given enough context for,
Mhm.
like, it's hard jumping into something. I mean,
Yes.
that's why I get, like, nervous about, like, starting any show that's past, like, 4 seasons. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to be lost in the weeds or something.
Well, yeah, you got to start over for sure instead
Right.
of entering forward. Yeah.
Exactly, and I don't want to, but yeah, but like I think that there's something about like watching with people and having that shared experience and stuff, and
Sure.
being able to know where people are coming from and why people like things so much. Because there's plenty of things
Yes.
where I'm just like, I had no interest in watching it, and I watched it and I did like it, you know, or
Sure.
vice versa. Vice versa.
Absolutely, which is another big thesis of this podcast, because the few movies that I have seen after it was acceptable to watch, if you will, I have questions, like The Breakfast Club. I saw that when I was 25 years old.
Sure.
And I'm like, this is the quintessential high school movie. It is so cliquey. It is so
Yeah.
black and white. It is so, everyone's an archetype or a caricature, not even a character. So if
Right.
I didn't see this as a kid, never mind, you know, I wouldn't have been old enough to see it when it was released, but like, I don't even know if I was alive actually when it was released, but even if I saw it as a 12-year-old in my own generation, like, maybe I would have liked it because it would have felt aspirational. But as
Yeah.
a 25-year-old lady whose like brain is fully formed,
Right.
and I've already been through not just high school but college and then young 20-something social circles, I'm like, I don't relate to any of this. So it's going to be super interesting to see
Right.
what holds up and what doesn't through the lens of either one of us that maybe hasn't seen it.
Exactly. And there are plenty of, and I think there's plenty of those things. I mean, like, there's certain things that are undeniable hits. Like,
Sure.
hits.
Sure.
And I just can't, there's a barrier. And I know it's because of the time, the place that I watched something, you know? I'm like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's a common experience that I don't think we talk about enough. So
Right.
much of like the media that you like really depends on if you saw it at a young
Right.
age. Okay, let's talk about, so I have more general gaps of knowledge. It's kind of a little bit of everywhere, but like, what would you say that your gaps of knowledge are?
So, like, I'm gonna just say it. I was very pretentious in my in my teens and my 20s. I am so not pretentious now, though.
No, you're not. You're not.
No, I'm not. I
You
am,
have good taste. Look, I
right.
used to be a little pretentious too.
For sure.
Like, we've talked about this. We
Yeah.
would have been friends at probably every stage of our life.
Of course.
There's some people that you can only meet at a certain time and be friends with, but we're like, oh no, we've been running parallel
Right.
with our attitudes and tastes probably to some extent.
Oh,
our whole
absolutely.
lives. Yeah.
And so I think, like, in knowing that about me, like, I mean, you could kind of from that kind of glean that it's kind of like, yeah, teen movies when I was a teenager.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I mean, like, you're talking about The Breakfast Club. I watched that when I was a kid,
Right.
and I kind of, you know, I kind of liked it. But like,
How
I
dare
think,
you? No, I'm kidding.
Right. But like when I watching it now, it is hard to watch now. But now So like when I was a teenager, you could not catch me at any teen movies. So like She's All That and like movies like that.
That's actually a movie I saw like just a few years ago. I didn't see it when I was a young one either. So I relate a little bit to that because it looked dumb.
Right.
And I was like, I'm good. Like, not that I didn't like other dumb movies, but I was like, I felt like I was being preached to with like contemporary teen movies. Like, this is how high school or prom or whatever is supposed to be, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't like it. I don't need it.
Exactly, and like, and I was, and I think like especially, so like I feel like there was like, I mean, we've talked about like the Woodstock '99 generation, and like I think that
we're not fans.
Right, we're not fans if that's a surprise to anyone.
Should be if you've been listening so far.
Yes, and so I really feel like when I was a teenager in my 20s and stuff, there was a lot of like super, and there still is, but like I just kind of don't like, I'll write something off if I just get a hint of anything, and yeah, I tended to not like romance movies, like straightforward like rom-coms. They had to be weird for me to watch it, which I think is kind of the like loose genre that I like, is like kind of normal but also a little bit weird. Like it has to be a little weird for me to watch it.
That's why I love the indie movies of like the late 90s and into the 2000s, because they often were straight up genres of whether it was a rom-com or whether it was something else, but a little bit weirder, a little bit more twisted, a little bit more whatever, so like I relate to that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, our shorthand with Woodstock '99 is just toxic male masculinity, often in cargo shorts.
Yes.
It's kind of a long-standing joke with us and our good friend Jen Curcio, who will be on here at some point.
Yes.
And just how tasteless some of the late 90s music was. Like the rest of the 90s, great, but like...
Oh, yeah. But it was
Limp Bizkit, no thank you. I know we're talking about movies and not music, and we probably shouldn't alienate our audience too much. But that's probably a reference that's going to come up a few times.
Yeah. But I really do think that, they're so good. I mean, you could only see, again, so many things.
Yes.
Like, okay, I would watch like a lot of indie movies, and I used to like to go to indie theaters and watch whatever new things that were out and stuff. And I was also president of the film club.
You were?
I was in high school. I was the president of the film club.
Nerd alert. No, kidding.
That's the first time I've ever been called a nerd.
I'm kidding. I think that's actually really cool. I was vice president of SAD, Students Against Drunk Driving, so I was like an uber nerd, so it's fine. Again, we would have been friends.
Yeah. Well, I was in a lot of different clubs, but like I really did like being... Actually, so I wasn't elected. I was vice president, but then the president got impeached. And
did you do that? Did you get him impeached?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Of course. Eventually I'll be the only person hosting. I'll get rid of you and your little dog too. No,
I know that's a Wizard of Oz reference, because again, it's all over culture. But don't get rid of Grimmy.
No, I'm just kidding.
Grim is, an angel. She's such a good dog.
No, she'll always be on here.
She's our mascot.
Yeah, she's the mascot. But yeah, like I always, it's not like I've never. So like when I was president, I remember when I was president of the film club, I remember I had this like, I have to really get like the best movies and stuff like that. So I think that might have started me off on that foot. Also,
that would make so much sense.
Yeah, and also like my parents always liked really cool movies. Like they got me into Star Wars when I was young and stuff. So it's just like the way I grew up.
Your parents sound cool. Like the more you talk about it, they just sound like they have really fun taste in everything. I definitely want to meet them at some point because they just sound fun.
Yeah, they're cooler than I am for sure.
Well, you're cool.
I'm cool.
You're a nerd, but you're cool.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's kind of where like I kind of feel like I went towards a certain path.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because a lot of the films that are on, we have a whole spreadsheet of like what we both haven't seen, what we've one of us have seen, not the other. And I feel like at least for the loose schedule that we have for like what we're going to watch in the first several weeks, it's mostly, in terms of what I have seen and you have not, is rom-coms. And it's
Yeah.
funny because I've only watched them when I was like sick or grieving, like later
Sure.
in life, you know, with like different events, because it
Yeah.
felt like brain candy, and some I actually kind of like.
Mhm.
Some
Yeah.
I don't. Very few I saw in the appropriate time frame, but that's like watching She's All That, for instance, is so much easier than watching Star Wars on a rainy
Absolutely.
day if you've like never seen it and you just need brain candy.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like most of yours are definitely, there's a couple random stuff, but any kind of
Mhm.
rom-coms or chick flicks or teen
Right.
tend to be your biggest percentages.
Yeah, and there's even some like blockbusters out there,
Sure.
like where I just kind of was like, I have zero interest in seeing this.
Well, we
but,
both
yeah.
haven't seen Avatar.
Yes,
Because it didn't look interesting to me.
I know. Oh, yeah. It just, I was like, this, and I like James Cameron. I like a lot of James Cameron movies, but it couldn't have looked any worse. Like for me
It
to
looked
want to
dumb.
watch.
It looked
Yeah,
really dumb.
yeah.
I did not understand what all the fuss was
Yeah.
about, but we'll find out.
We'll
That's one of the
find
first
out.
movies we're gonna watch.
Exactly. Actually, it's going to be in theaters in, I think September. Yeah.
Like the original?
Yes, the
Because aren't they
original.
coming out with a sequel too?
They are
Or
coming out
making-
with a sequel, but it's
They're
coming out.
re-releasing the original.
Yes, they're re-releasing. Yeah.
Let's make this a huge money grab bag. Like that's what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be coming back to IMAX and everything because it was like huge in IMAX. So I imagine they're like, okay, but they're
I
also.
don't need to see it in IMAX
I
or
think-
the theater for that
Right.
matter.
I mean, we'll probably get it on the episode, but
Yeah.
like, I think there's a few reasons why they're.
Yeah, I can guess too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna see. Hey, maybe we're wrong. Like that.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I have been shocked by so many movies that were advertised horribly. Like,
Sure.
I mean, this isn't on the list. I don't know yet, but Drive, the movie Drive.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
Either.
So like, when it was advertised, it looked like a dumb like Fast and the Furious movie,
Mhm.
but it is not. And yeah, we'll put that on the list.
There's a lot of both movies and TV shows. I'm spacing on a movie offhand, but one of I think one of the funniest shows from the past, well, we'll just call it the 21st century, is Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment
Yes.
23. Advertised so stupidly. It was
Really?
like a frothy, oh my god, girls living together in the city and one's kind of a bitch. Like, and James Vanderbeek. No, it's hilarious.
one of
It
the
is
best.
dark comedy. It is quick-witted comedy. It is character comedy.
Mhm.
It is so effing good.
Right.
And it just had terrible advertisements. They just didn't package it right.
Exactly.
So
And I
that's a real
forgot-
thing.
Right, and I forgot how I even started watching it. And I think like a friend told me about it,
Mhm.
and like I was like, okay, whatever. And it is brilliant. It's brilliant.
Brilliant.
And there's plenty of things that I've like stuck my nose up at, and they end up becoming one of my favorite things.
We'll admit when we're wrong.
We're-
like, it's
yes.
fine because we're not actually pretentious D-bags anymore. If we did
No.
this when we were like 25,
Oh,
maybe.
You would
Buckle
get
up.
some
Buckle up.
spicy hot takes.
Yeah, and we might be willing to die on hills that we shouldn't die
Yeah.
on, but I don't think that's either of us. Right
We would have
now.
talked shit about movies we hadn't even. We would actually just pick a movie, not watch it, and talk shit
Explain
about
why we don't want to watch it.
Exactly.
110%. Tell me about a few movies you do like so we can acclimate our audience. I guess we
Okay.
kind of already talked about genres, but like what would be your 5 favorite movies?
Okay. So like, Beginners is my favorite movie.
Keep talking about that. I haven't
I
seen that
keep
yet.
talking about that. We can put it on the list. It's kind of like, I don't know if anybody else. Yeah, I highly
We're gonna
recommend
keep it
though.
to largely iconic
Yes.
movies, and
That's
then we'll
what I
do
mean.
some other stuff on our Patreon. But we
Yes.
might throw in some curveballs because we feel like it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
It's our podcast, so we'll
And
see what
also,
works.
and also, like, I do think people should. I think this should be a
Right.
hit.
Right.
Christopher Plummer did win an Academy Award from it.
Nice.
So it's one of my favorite movies, and it's quirky. I think that's kind of, you'll hear the list. Rushmore is like my second favorite. I saw that.
Anderson is quirky.
Yes, exactly, and so it's like things along those lines. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back is probably on there, and like what other movies? I tend to like more movies that are along. Oh, The Witch is one of my favorite movies.
I don't even know if I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a family living in the I believe it's the 1500s in like New England, but there's some witchy stuff.
So like pre-Salem witch trials, witchy stuff.
But it is. Yeah, we'll put that on the list. It's a little scary, but it's not that scary. But yeah, I like movies like that, and Hereditary. I think I would put up there too in the top 5. Right. What about you? What's
a little all over the map? A lot of comedies like Tommy Boy,
and
like other things of that variety, if you will. Some like really weirdly sad movies like My Girl. I was like, it's legit been my favorite movie since I was a kid, because I was a dark, creepy, morbid kid that was acting out my own little death issues. So that movie spoke to me. I love a lot of Sofia Coppola stuff, like Virgin Suicides. I think I think it is. I have like 20 favorite movies, despite the fact that I've never seen a movie. Apparently, like there's so many I've missed. I really do geek out for a lot of movies, so it's hard to rank, but I mean, I feel like Virgin Suicides, especially as I'm trying to be an aspiring writer-director, you know, like that was just so, I think, influential to my own aesthetics that I hope to one day get to produce and stuff and get made. All the more reasons I should be watching movies, because I'm in film now, so it's a little ridiculous that I'm like, I've never seen The Wizard of Oz, but hire me, Hollywood. Like, here I go. Yeah. So we're gonna get rid of some of that arrogance and ignorance all at once. But Virgin Suicides is very up there with me.
I love that. Great soundtrack too.
Really great soundtrack. I love the 70s. It's Right Air.
Right Air, yeah.
I love the 70s. I always dress like I'm going to prom with the Lisbon sisters basically every day. So that movie really did have a profound impact on me. Boogie Nights.
Oh, yes.
It's such a well-made movie. I can't believe a movie about the porn industry is so prestigiously done, and I'm not looking down on the sex industry when I say that, but like especially for the times in the 90s when it was made, that was so taboo, and it's frame for frame, it's one of the most compelling films I've ever seen.
Well, because I feel like especially from that time frame, anything that was made that was about the sex industry was very exploitative.
Absolutely.
Instead of
very exploitative, but then also like, okay, this is like a guilty pleasure that probably by default is in the top 10. We'll just make it my 5th movie just for the intents and purposes, because it's an interesting thing we just fell into. Showgirls, because I've made so many people watch Showgirls. I've seen it so many times. I think it is an accidental comedy masterpiece. Is it really my 5th favorite movie? No, but I've watched it so much and I reference it so much. And it is, have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I have to have a movie night, because our good friend Russell hasn't seen it either, so I really need to have this. We'll put this on. I didn't realize this should be on the list, because it was like a huge bomb, like literally one of the worst bombs of all time. But if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the best-selling home videos of all time as well. It became a cult classic, as is Tommy Boy, which is wild. I like a lot of home sale movies, apparently.
Yes, anything that was popular. And even if he was embarrassed to see it in the movie theater, but
which I don't think was Tommy Boy, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, like, I won't give too much away, but like, the figure itself, the Nomi Malone, who's played by Elizabeth Berkley, is kind of a tragic figure and sort of a lost soul, and it's not a well-rounded female character, let's put it that way. So I mean, she's a tough girl, but she's also a sexy girl. That's like her 2 notes.
Right. And that's probably as good as you're gonna get
for 1995.
Hell yeah. 1995,
that was edgy. Oh, a girl has 2 personality traits.
Whoa. Exactly. And that's kind of one of those movies too where I was like, because I used to watch Saved by the Bell, and I was like, I don't want to see her naked. Like, I don't know why that's
will you ever.
And she's naked a lot.
You see a lot. Not just, you see a lot.
Really?
Okay? You see a lot.
Wow.
Like a lot.
Oh, okay.
It's not just like, you see a lot.
Wait, when did you see it then? When would you have seen that?
This is really funny, actually. It's a two-part answer. I saw it probably the better part of a decade after it was released, but it was on VH1. So half the movie was not even airing because there was no way to censor around.
Right.
There's so much nudity, so much drug use, so much profanity. So I think it was like an hour movie special with commercials. Like I feel like it wasn't even that long. And they painted on bras on the topless dancers. So I thought, oh man, times have changed in like 10 years. God, women in bras.
I know, right.
That was the scandal that I barely remember because it was an itty bitty thing of like 1995. And then my friends and I in college as a goof watched it. Mm-hmm. And I was in for a rude awakening for like just how scandalous. I was scandalized in the best possible way. But I mean, it was hilarious. It's a great movie to watch with friends. Hence, I need to have a movie night because it's ridiculous. It's not something you should watch by yourself. It's not for the faint of heart. You need witnesses and commentary and all that jazz. But
yeah, I think that's a group watch.
So I kind of saw it for the first time twice. A decade plus, I want to say, after it was aired, after it was released. So
yeah, I remember they showed Pulp Fiction on KTLA 5, local station.
I've actually seen that multiple times, believe it or not, because that's not even my wheelhouse. But I've seen Pulp Fiction.
Right.
It's wild.
But I saw it. So like I did see it, like the original cut, but then.
Oh, they edited it down.
The edited version is so fucking funny. It's like monkey face instead of motherfucker, which is a crazy thing for them to be.
What a weird substitution. I have a lot of thoughts on that. I don't even know where to begin, so I'm probably not going to even comment.
It's somebody's job to do that too. And
they should be fired.
Well, I know. I was
you
like,
can't say mofo. Just say mofo.
I don't know why they wouldn't have bleeped it out, but I guess like bleeping it out was like acknowledging that there was a curse word there.
Oh my god!
But there's so many.
Tarantino. What do you expect?
I know. But like, well,
his middle name is motherfucker. I mean, it's probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like he could have changed it legally. I don't think his mom would have. I think he could have changed it. But yeah, I think that's really funny. Maybe we should try to find like the clean version of
censored versions. Or like when, I don't think you've seen this series, but like Sex and the City went to TBS after being on HBO syndication, and like Samantha is not in any of the episodes because she's so dirty talking / mostly naked having sex at least once an episode. So it's like and a lot of her plot points are around whatever. So there's not really a way to edit, like, I'm dating a guy with the funkiest tasting spunk.
My God.
That's a pretty iconic line from the series. So there's not really a good way to TBS-ify that plot point. So, like, she's literally not in half the... It's
we
pretty
just
funny.
have to cut them out. Yeah. That's so weird.
So
we'll see.
This is the culture we live in. So we're both a little all over the map. A lot of eccentricities, a lot of funny movies, a lot of movies with heart. I think no matter what the genre is, I think that's like Sideshow Girls. Which again, it's not really my fifth favorite movie, but we're gonna make it the fifth for this because it's worth talking about, and this is what we want to talk about. So
exactly,
there is that.
And I think movies like it. I mean, it really is amazing, and sadly, like I think especially with the pandemic and everything, like it's been, people have been consuming movies, but it's like the actual like communal movie watching is a little bit harder to do now.
It's funny though. I don't think I've done a lot of communal watching post college anyway, so I don't feel like I missed out as much. I feel like I would rather just spread out and watch a movie in bed and get comfortable. I don't really want to be crammed into someone's couch with 8 other people, and I'm a little dodgy about movie theaters for various reasons that I'm sure we'll get to in other episodes. We'll wrap this up soon. We'll save that for another time. But so that didn't... When everyone... I feel like I had so many friends that were like, I just miss going to movies. I can deal with almost anything else. Because we're in LA too, so movies is hugely in our culture in ways that I've lived in other spots. It's not the same thing. Like people love movies everywhere, don't get me wrong, but it's, I was like, that's like the one thing I don't really care about in the pandemic.
For me, it's hard for me to concentrate. I guess what if I put on I I can't even pick a movie. Like that's the
So
problem.
do you not really watch movies in the pandemic?
So, watching a movie without looking at my phone once is the new reading for me. Like I really feel like during the pandemic, I would either watch like a TV show that I've already seen, and it's been really hard for me to concentrate. So that's why
fair.
I'm actually like I kind of need somebody to get me to focus.
We're just going to be media gurus after this project.
Exactly.
So as long as you guys watch and subscribe to our Patreon and social media, let's finally watch it. All the things of the things. So how did we meet? I have an abbreviated version that I tell people.
Oh, I want to hear yours then.
We met in a cemetery.
Yeah, we met in a cemetery.
Which is
that's
70% true.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we met for like a car ride to a
cemetery. Yes.
Yeah.
Jen Curcio, our good friend, invited me to be on their podcast. He's a man of many podcasts. Touch from the Past, A Touch from the Past.
Yes.
And we went to a cemetery for A Touch from the Past.
Exactly.
The end of 2019.
Right. Oh God, that wasn't 2019. But anyways, yeah, it was, and we've been to a lot of cemeteries ever since.
I think the next time we saw each other, not on like Zoom or something, was because the pandemic happened like 4 months after this. We went to another cemetery for my YouTube, a creepy and kooky Kelly blog, where I go to some places that are not cemeteries, but mostly cemeteries.
But mostly cemeteries.
Any kind of weird or kooky, eccentric, creepy, whatever places around Los Angeles. And you've been on a couple times. You went on for Holy Cross episode and the second Hollywood Forever episode.
Yes.
It's been twice. Have you been on more than twice?
No, it's twice.
For some reason, it feels like you've hit a lot of graves with me because my TikTok with it. I have a lot of clips of you.
Oh, interesting.
Jen and Lacey are number one because they've been on a few each / like heavy hitter cemeteries, and then like I think you're like a solid next.
Oh, good.
In terms of how many like 'cause we saw quite a few graves together. Not to brag on the internet.
Yeah, no,
we go against graves together in our friendship.
It's like gravely serious.
Oh snap! I see what you did there.
I see. Well, like I've always really liked cemeteries, though.
Me too.
Like,
Me too. So did Jen. So we're all friends.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I think that kind of shows where our interests lie.
Oh yeah. I'm nodding if you're just listening. I'm nodding heavily.
Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of and I feel like we're endurance friends. We like to hang out like all day. Let's go do this.
We have like epic hangs. Like I'll go over at 2, leave at like 10 or 11. Yeah. For me, it's late. I prefer an early bedtime. But Clark is good company, so it is what it is. And Grimmy, Grimmy loves her Uncle Clarky.
Yeah.
So
I think it would be different if Grimmy didn't like me, but
no. She'd be like, "We gotta go. I don't like your friends, but."
Yeah.
My little traumatized shelter baby loves all my friends now. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's always nice to have her around. But yeah, and I think and I think we have a lot of like. It's weird because you'll meet someone and you're like, okay, I feel like you got them and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think like the more and more that we like talk about things, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, wow. It's a little bit of best of both worlds. I think we liked each other from the jump, but like it's we had a slow burn friendship in part because of the pandemic, in part because of like scheduling.
Right.
And I've learned to just appreciate when you're not automatically best friends with someone, because most people that I'm automatically best friends with, I'm not really friends with 2 years later.
Yeah, I
don't know if it's because they're just charming because of reasons and whatever, and they mold themselves to you, and that's why you get along so well, which, or if it's just better, good things come to those who wait. I don't know what it is, but
but there's plenty of those. I feel like I feel like a lot of friends that I have, like one of my best friends, Joshua Cole, I hated him.
The guy at your birthday.
Yes, Joshua Cole. He's
nice,
he's very nice, but he made fun of Joy Division and The Cure.
I get it. I would have been real mad too if that was me some 10 plus years ago.
Exactly. Right. So I think so I'm so excited to to watch some of these movies.
Yes.
And
I'm so stoked too because I want to do this project for so long, but like LA has, and I'm not even a FLA person. I actually really like LA, and I think most people are really cool. But whether it's because of scheduling or people are stretched so thin, some people are by default kind of flaky, and it can be hard. I've had so many writing partners. I've been on so many teams. I've had a short-lived podcast or two, and like, you know, sometimes it's a bad ending or doesn't ever get off the ground because of something bad, and sometimes it's just like a life thing. So I've been like holding this idea in my back pocket, and we were literally having one of our epic hang days, and I think there was at least 3 times that you were like, you've seen this movie though, right? And I was like, nope. And I'd kind of forgotten about this project too. Like I forgot a little, it wasn't like on the tip of my tongue, you know? I'd kind of let it go, and I was like, well, I had this idea.
Right.
I don't know if you'd be into it. And I was delighted to find out that there's a lot of movies that I've seen that you haven't seen, or that we both haven't seen.
It's actually...
Because I thought it was all going to be you rewatching shit.
Oh, yeah. I know
felt low-key bad about that.
No, I know you had said that, but I was like, oh, there's like a lot that I haven't seen. Like, plenty.
Yeah, there's a good amount. I was pleasantly surprised because I think it makes it's good to just have different perspectives, you know, of like who's seen what. So I'm super excited that I waited to pitch this to you. You know?
And like the thing is, I want you to explain what, like, the movies that I haven't seen that
I'm going to mansplain it to you.
Yes, please mansplain that to me. I will not do that to you because that is not cool. But like
only women can mansplain. That's the new rule.
Exactly. That's the new rule. But like, I really do think that, like, you know, if, like, I love Star Wars, like I said.
Yeah.
I do.
I need someone to explain it to me. I do need someone to explain it to me.
But also at the same time, if you watched it and you didn't like it, I'd be like, okay, fine. There's there's some like Star Wars fans that are out there that are like, what? You didn't get this? You didn't get that? Shut the frick up, you dork.
See, but this is why we're friends. We're pretentious.
Yes,
gatekeepery.
exactly.
Like I used to say, like, if you don't like Sonic Youth, you're not my friend.
Right. I mean,
none of my friends like Sonic Youth, so it was just a pretentious thing to say.
I know.
It wasn't even like a real thing, but I wanted it to be real. Like, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. So we both have mellowed. We both have mellowed over the years.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree if we have to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of. I think we're both kind of like that, you know, especially even though we're both hothead or former hotheads.
Yeah, it's like the joke, Jen.
Yes,
the 3 of us.
But I think that we're I think it's going to be a fun journey to show you things and you show me things.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
It's going to be super fun. I can't wait. So please follow along, subscribe, review, and watch our other episodes, which are going to drop along with this episode, where we're going to actually watch a few movies.
Yes.
So I'm Lauren-Blair Donovan.
And I'm Clark and Blair.
And if you want to follow us on social media, even individually, Blairosaurus, like the dinosaur Blair, I go by Blair more than Lauren. Blairosaurus Rex tends to be where you can find me on most platforms, and you, sir?
I'm Clark C. Mm-hmm. So I think on
TikTok, you're something else.
TikTok,
now, right?
I'm CLARXY instead of on Instagram. I'm other Clark C with a K, CLARKSY.
If you're watching on a video, you'll see the font titles to help you out here. So
nobody's gonna be typing that in. Yeah, I feel like it'll be a link.
Clark Canez, Lauren-Blair Donovan. There's not a lot of us out there, to be fair.
Oh, that is.
We have kind of original names, especially since I'm a hyphen girl too. Yes. Maybe there is a Lauren-Blair Donovan, but it might not be hyphenated. So.
Right. So
Lauren-Blair, like Mary Jane. So
exactly.
Don't call me Lauren, call me Lauren-Blair or Blair unless I grew up with you. It's kind of my role.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much. And please feel free to watch along with us.
Or else.
Or else indeed.
Bye.
Bye.